What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are standing outside the Sevierville Convention Center here in Tennessee, where the Pittman Creek Wholesale event is being held. There's going to be a whole bunch of booths and stuff to check out, guys, so let's not waste any time and let's get right inside and see what's going on.
Hey there, I'm Caroline Brewer Calton. I am the third generation owner of Charlie Brewer Slider Company. My granddad, Charlie Sr., started the company in 1970, and my parents took it over in the 80s, and it has been mine for the last 3 or 4 years, so keeping it in the family.
Can you show us a slider and your favorite soft plastic to pair it with?
Sure. All right, so this is my granddad's original slider. When you heard of the slider in the 1970s, it was the 4-inch plastic worm and the original 16th ounce head. He always sold those together. They were rigged, and that was the slider. And the reason they called it the slider is because it just slid through the water smoothly. His goal was to imitate nature. He studied the minnows, he watched how they operated in the water and traveled, and there just wasn't a lot of action. They slid through the water, just straight and narrow. That's what these two things did. So back in the day, that was the slider. Of course, now we have a whole line of things, but when you think of slider, this is the original deal.
And what's the best way for someone watching to pick one of these lures up?
Come see us at www.sliderfishing.com. We have a website there. You can find us at all kinds of mom and pop shops across the country. We're in Bass Pro, a few Walmarts, a couple other chain stores. But if you can't find them, call us. We'll get it to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bobby Dennis. I've been doing this for about 51 years. I started with Cotton Cordell when I was 14 years old and wound up going to Pradco when he sold it and was their sales director. And then I bought Bill Norman Lures in 1990 and kept it for 10 years. And then I ran into a guy named Rick Clunn. And Rick approached me at a Bass Pro sale. And he said, "What's the idea behind this professional edge line that you're doing with Norman?" And I said, "I wanted a lure that a fisherman could take out of the package and fish with immediately. Didn't have to change hooks, finish wasn't coming off, it was color selected by pros. And it was, so I wanted something that the ordinary guy could use that would be the same thing that a pro would use." Rick said, "I like that idea." And I said, "Okay." So about a month later, he called me and drove up to Greenwood to the Norman factory. And a lot of people say, "How do you connect with Rick Clunn?" Well, he asked me, I asked him, I said, "When do you use a round bill bait versus a square bill?" And about an hour later, he was still telling me, and it dawned on me that this guy knows a lot more than most people even think about. And it kind of evolved from there because we'll spend an hour in the car and 15 minutes of it would be about fishing, as far as techniques and lures and all that. The rest of it is about the mental part of it, or just really the mental part of life. As probably most of you know, Rick is a very deep thinker. He told me one time that he used to be fishing backwards, that he was watching the owl, but he should have been watching the mouse. And so he comes up with these sayings, and then you have to think about them a long time later. But I guess one of my favorite memories with him was fishing a charity tournament on Beaver Lake. And he had fished a BASS event the week before and got into Bentonville about 3 in the morning. We had to be at the launch at 7. And we're sitting in the boat, and it's kind of cold, and the mist is coming up off the lake. And I said, "You've got to be tired." And he said, "You know where I'd rather be?" And I said, "Where?" He goes, "Nowhere." He goes, "Look how beautiful that is looking down the lake." And I thought, this is a different guy. And we wound up winning it. And I saw him do things that day that I'd never seen people do with a spinnerbait. And then we fished out in California together. We fished just several places, but each time is more of a, it's not so much a lesson in technique and fishing as it is in the thought process of it. And I would tell anybody that wants to get into this industry, you got to remember one thing: you don't make anything anybody has to have. We don't cure cancer. We're not curing diseases. Everything we do is for fun. And if you keep that in your mind, you can do it for 50 years because I tell people, the worst day of my life, I talk about fishing lures. How bad can it be? So I have all these young guys come up to me all the time, and they'll say, "So if you had one thing to tell me about the industry," you don't cure anything. Everything you do is for fun. So you just got to keep that in your head. And while Rick is a very deep thinker, he still will tell you that he's probably more comfortable standing up in front of a boat than he is sitting at home. That's his world. So, you know, when it all comes down to it, you got to make something that works over a long period of time. And with me, it's got to be affordable. I mean, $25 for a lure, give me a break. I mean, how many high school kids are going to go buy 2 of those? So I'm trying to create a line of lures that anybody can go buy 4 or 5 colors, and you don't have your wife beat you up later, you know, when you get home. So it's really simple. You make something that works and you sell it at a good price, and that's it. That's all you got to do.
Thank you very much, sir.
So Catch Fever, we started about 9 years ago. We started with the Big Cat Fever setup, and that was our first rod series. And we just did a signature series where we redesigned the entire lineup with 2-time state record holder Zach Royce.
Nice.
And this is what we came up with this for 2025. This is our redesigned Big Cat Fever signature series Zach Royce rod. We got a high density EVA foam with a front handle, like you guys probably hadn't seen this in the industry, where it's actually yarn underneath with foam, EVA foam over top. That allows that grip to stay there. You can't wear it down, can't wear it out.
That's true.
If you're a cat fisherman or you like doing multi-species, we got aluminum reel seat here. It locks down. It's not ever going anywhere.
Yeah, you could bomb a cast out there, huh?
You sure can.
Yeah, that's
and
the way
once
to
you
do
lock your reel down to that, I'm telling you, our reel seats are most times stronger than marriage. They ain't going nowhere, even after a long time.
You said they're full metal?
Yep. Double locking aluminum reel seats.
That's clean. And then the aluminum's also going to help it maintain that rust-free. So
That's exactly right.
Resistant.
Corrosion resistant.
Yep.
Everything, even if it's built, like this is a catfish model, but we're going to build it all up to saltwater grade.
You could throw it in salt water.
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Guys use them. At the end of this month, we're going to be pulling on Goliath grouper with these.
Nice.
This is our S-Class blank, and super durable, stainless steel guides. It's got a great action on the tip for anybody watching. A great rod for catfishing. When you can do that and that tip moves like that, that's the action you're looking for loading up on circle hooks. That's what's going to increase your ratio.
Yes, sir.
It's right here in the 2025 Catch the Fever Big Cat Fever Rod Series.
So hey guys, I'm here with GSM. I got 3 cool new baits that released at ICAST. This is the Buka brand Trick Shad. Retail will be $45 on this. It has several color variations. It has rotating hook hangers and rubber tail that flexes. Most of these are really stiff, you know, when you buy them in the store, but this one flexes a lot. It'll have a little bit more natural action in the water. We have the covert crawl for finesse jigs and throwing on a Ned rig. It has appendages that you tear apart. And you can change it however you want. You can pull all these little appendages off. We also have the new Nuki bug. This is made out of the same dense plastic as the Yamatanuki that released at the Bassmaster Classic a couple of years ago here in Knoxville. So thank you all for taking the time out of your day to be here.
Clutch, we make glide baits. This is the new Eco, $95. As a lot of people know, swim baits start getting really, really expensive. Like $200, $300, $400, $500 range is not out of the question with swim baits. So we tried to bring something that was economical to the market, where it's super durable. Like you can beat on this thing with a pair of metal side dikes and you're not going to chip the paint. So for guys like myself that like hitting docks and rocks and stuff, it'll just bounce off and your bait will be fine. It's 6 1/4 inches long with the tail. So it's not super big. Perfect for guys that are just getting into throwing swim baits that want to, they want to gain confidence in it, but they don't want to throw something that's like 9 3/4 inches long. That's big.
A little bit intimidating.
Yeah, you can go out there and get a ton of bites on it, catch a ton of fish, and learn the technique.
So you personally fish these?
Oh yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Doing good. How are you?
Pleasure. Simon.
Awesome. You want some? Try some.
Wow.
There you go, man.
Already.
Yeah.
All right. Talk me through it a little bit.
Yeah. So on the Bridgford product, we are 100% American beef and American pork. We're a soft chew, not a hard chew. Out of Chicago, Illinois. And through the show, we are offering either beef jerky tower or the smokehouse sausage stick.
Oh wow. So guys, if y'all are a dealer here at the Pittman Creek Wholesale, or if you're just someone interested in picking these, I mean, where would you recommend them going if they aren't a dealer? Do you have a website online that you recommend?
Yeah, they can find us at bridgefordfoods.com. But through Pittman Creek, obviously we have the special going, and you obviously are going to get your terms.
Yep.
And we are the first food vendor in the Pittman Creek catalog.
Wow. And I think what a great
It's the
decision to go with.
perfect boat snack, too,
Right,
right?
yeah.
I mean, we're all on the boat. We're looking for something that obviously has got high in protein, quick and easy and convenient.
Can last long too. You
There
can
you
throw
go.
it in your bag, throw it in your boat. You forget about it, come back a week later, you need it, it's there.
Good to go.
Yeah, this stuff is legit, guys. And it's got Sweet Baby Ray's, which is probably our favorite barbecue sauce. So
Yeah, absolutely.
big shout out, guys.
Yep, appreciate your time.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for stopping by.
Yes, sir, my pleasure.
Hey, I'm Mark Menendez, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. I'm from Paducah, Kentucky. I've been on the Bassmaster Elite Series Tour for 34 years.
Mr. Menendez, it seems like you catch bass on everything from jerkbaits, crankbaits, spinnerbaits, and poppers. But what is your personal favorite way to catch them?
Wow, it's almost like going to a buffet and saying, what do I want to eat right now? I love to catch fish any way I can. There are two that I really like. The first is particularly in the fall, is taking a spinnerbait on windy points and burning it back to the boat as fast as I can to get a reaction strike. This works really well with smallmouth and spotted bass, but when you can get the big largemouth to do that, you're in control. A half-ounce striking spinnerbait, burning it back. But the one that I probably have spent the most time perfecting and using on the tournament trail is a suspending jerkbait. That is a very tedious thing. You have to figure out day to day, hour to hour, what your cadence needs to be, how hard to jerk the bait, how long to make that bait pause to get those fish to react in cold water. So those are my two favorites.
Now, on what bait did you catch the 13-pound, 9-ounce fish that gave you the BASS Big Bass record from 1997 to 1999?
Yeah. Well, the fish I caught her down at Richland Chambers in megabucks. It's the largest bass that's ever been caught in a BASS tournament at that time period, and still the largest on the Elite Series. So that big old fish fell for a half-ounce spinnerbait, a bait that I put together, Colorado and a willow combination in gold and copper, but the skirt color was entirely different. It was a cantaloupe, like cutting the middle of a cantaloupe, and it was kind of this off soft orange. I added 5 strands of red to it because I was in Texas, because everything bites red in Texas, and had a 4-inch white ribbon tail on the back of it.
And what's one piece of advice for anyone trying to become a pro angler?
Well, there's 2 pieces of advice I'll give you. The first is fish as much as you can. Go to a small body of water, like a farm pond, a tank, so they call them in Texas, and get bites. If you're wanting to fish a crankbait, just take that crankbait and figure out how to get bites as many different ways as you can. If you need to work on a drop shot, work on that drop shot. Only take those baits to the pond. The secondary thing is go and take a basic public speaking course, because you're going to be in front of the camera, you're going to be on stage, you're going to have to convey and promote things like this Strike King crankbait. You'll have to be able to promote that, and that basic public speaking course will give you an edge or a leg up on your competition when it needs to. Go get more bites in a farm pond and learn your techniques, and then go take a basic public speaking course.
Yes, sir. And last question, completely off course here. Is there anything better than a filet mignon with a blue cheese crumble cooked medium?
Oh gosh, there isn't. No, let's go now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Menendez.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, hey, John Cruz, professional bass angler here, fish the Bassmaster Elite Series and owner of Missile Baits.
What inspired you to start Missile Baits?
So Missile Baits is really kind of a business project that kind of spawned off of wanting to get into something in the fishing world, in addition to being a pro angler. So I started working with the Spro Corporation designing crankbaits. I really love that design and promotion process. So I said, man, I really want to do that in soft plastics. And here I am 12 and a half years later, almost 13 years later, after I started Missile Baits, and we're still doing it, still designing baits and still promoting them and all that kind of stuff.
And that's how the Little John got his name, is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the Little John was the very first crankbait that I designed for Spro, and that I've designed probably about 18 baits since then for the Spro Corporation.
And what led you to design the D-bomb that we all know and love, and were you expecting the bait to explode as much as it did when it was initially created and put on the market?
Yeah, so the D-bomb, it's our flagship, home run bait from day one. That's one of the baits, the first 5 baits we started with Missile Baits is that D-bomb. And I found myself fishing a beaver. The reaction beaver was like the first creature bait of that type that was on the market, and I really liked it. I thought it was awesome. It's still a great bait, but there's like some issues with it, with like the hookup ratio, and it darts on the fall. I wanted something that had a little more presence, and I love ringworms, so I was like, man, I'm just going to make a big fat ringworm body for this thing, and I wanted different appendages that had more action when the bait was stopped. That was one of the things I didn't like about the beaver, but once I did that, it became a totally different bait. Like, it was not another beaver, it's a totally different bait. The D-bomb is more like a jig than it is a beaver, so that bait, it kind of morphed into its own category, and there's a lot of other imitation baits in addition to the D-bomb now, but yeah, it's one of those baits that just kind of took a life of its own. I went through about 5 different versions before I got the bait just right.
How did the jig collaboration between you and Mike Iaconelli happen?
So the jigs with Ike, man, that came out because we're friends. He was going to be involved with missile baits from day one, but about that time, Berkeley wanted to have him for soft plastics, and they threw him a ton of money, and he couldn't turn it down. He's still promoting their soft plastics. They make some good baits for sure, but he wanted to do the jig project with me, and we started working together. I guess it was a little over 10 years ago now. The mini flip was our very first one, and that's our #1 selling jig that we do. And we've got a handful of other baits, micro jig, monster jig, mini swim jig. Got a bunch of different variations now that add to the lineup.
And why only soft plastics and jigs in the missile bait lineup?
Only soft plastics for missile baits because you've got to know your lane. You got to be a specialist. And missile baits, we are serious soft plastics. So anything that has to do with soft plastics and soft plastic accessories are what we do. And up to this point, we're completely solely focused on the bass market. That's where missile baits has got our bread and butter, and that's the lane we stay in, so to speak. So I still do baits with Spro Corporation. I'm even doing some soft plastic type baits with Spro as well, but they're baits that we can't make in the United States through Missile. So it's kind of a cool collaboration on a number of different baits with Spro, and I have a big line of hard baits with Spro, and that's why we're never going to do hard baits with Missile. It's just not something we're going to get into.
Nice. And if you had one piece of advice to anyone trying to be a pro right now, what would it be?
So anybody trying to be a professional angler, it is a tough road to hoe. That's what I'm going to tell you. I would say that you may want to make sure that you have all your finances figured out. Start with like a chunk of money. So whatever you have to do, work extra jobs, do Uber driver, whatever it is, save your money. Have that extra money before you even start, because if you start and you're already kind of like, not sure if you can make it through one season, even if you don't make any money, that's not a good way to start, because, just like any other small business, the majority of small businesses that fail because they're underfunded, which means they don't have enough money when they start. So whatever your business plan is, triple that amount, that's the money you really need to start with. So same thing goes for bass fishing. If you start out and you don't have enough money to really get going, you're probably going to run out of money at some point in time, and then you're going to end up failing. Not because you're not be able to catch them good enough. I mean, you might get lucky and win a big tournament, get you that money that you should have started with to be able to keep going. My third Bassmaster event, I won a boat, sold it for $22,000, and that's what it was worth back then. The same boat now probably worth $80,000, but that was what I won back then, and that was that chunk of money that I needed. I didn't probably have enough money when I started, looking back on it, but that extra 22 grand gave me what I needed to get going. We didn't have the entry fees as high as they are now, all that kind of stuff when I got going. So that's my best advice. You can figure out the fishing stuff. Everybody can give you all kind of advice on that, but make sure you have enough money when you get started.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.